All right, I'm going to be making a lemon lime pound cake using some Sprite. And first thing I'm going to start off with is my butter and my sugar. I'm going to cream that for about 5 minutes in my stand mixer. Always make sure before you start to cream your butter, your sugar, or even before you bake your pound cake is that you have all of your ingredients at room temperature. That is very important. Your butter, your eggs, and whatever liquid you're using for the pound cake, make sure you have it at room temperature before you start to use it, because if you try to use cold butter in your cake batter, it will settle at the bottom and have like a wet mess at the bottom. So always make sure you start at room temperature with all of your ingredients. While this is happening, I'm going to zest 2 limes and 1 lemon so that I can add that into the batter later on. And I'll also go ahead and sift my 3 cups of flour. Alright, the batter has been whipping for 5 minutes. Now I'm going to scrape down the sides of the bowl and then give it probably another 5 minutes, because again, I want to make sure that I can't hear the sugar in the bowl. And as you can hear, you can still hear the sugar scraping against the bowl. So I'm going to scrape down the sides, scrape down my paddle, and then I'll get it started again. Alright, the second round of mixing has been done for the creaming of the butter and the sugar. I'm now going to add my eggs. I got a total of 5 eggs, and I'm going to add them one at a time. I'm going to do it separately, crack them in a bowl, pour them in there just to make sure I don't get any shells inside of my batter. Now it's time to incorporate my eggs. As I mentioned, I'm doing them one at a time. There goes one. Make sure when you're adding your eggs that, again, you do it one at a time. And before you add the other one, make sure it's well incorporated. You shouldn't be able to see any more yolk before you put the next egg into the batter. Always make sure you keep your eggs and your butter, again, at room temperature. Anything that you're going to be using for your cake mixture needs to be at room temperature. Next egg going in. This makes the third one. After this last egg, I will be adding in the flour and alternating with the Sprite. And I'm using 1 cup of Sprite. I know most people call it a 7-Up pound cake, but Sprite is what I happen to have on hand. Now I'm about to add in my flour, and make sure you're careful at this part because you don't want a big poof of smoke flying up around the kitchen. I started off with 1 cup just to get everything going. Now I'm going to add a little bit of that room temperature Sprite. I've already started zesting my limes and my lemons, and as you can see, there's a little bit in the bowl. I'm going to zest 2 limes, 1 lemon, and I'll also use the juice from them and to incorporate it into the cake batter as well. At this point, I've added the lemon juice and the lemon zest to the cake batter. The last thing I got to do now is finish off with a little lemon extract, and then I'll be ready to put the cake batter into the Bundt pan, and I'm going to bake it at 325 degrees for about an hour. Always make sure that you coat your pan with some type of non-stick spray. This is my all-time favorite, but you can also use Pam with flour or butter or Crisco, the shortening, the solid form, and a little bit of flour to coat it. But this is my all-time favorite. I've always used this because I haven't had any issues with anything sticking every time I use it. When the bowl comes out smooth like this, nothing on the bottom, that lets you know during the whole process that everything was well incorporated. And now, here's the cake in the pan, about to go into the oven. And you can still see all of those zest of lemon and lime. That'll be baked well into the cake, no worries. Cake is going in at 325 degrees for an hour. And I always put something under the cake just in case there's a little spillage or something like that. Just to make sure that the cake doesn't cause a mess. Finished product. Not sure if I'm going to put any icing or anything on it, or glaze, but here she is. I'm going to let it cool for another 30 minutes.